Here's what's next on the Nice Guys on Business.
So basically, the 10X rule is a multiplier. It suggests that if you can do something good in one field, find 9 more to do it in. If you think it takes 10 customers, multiply times 10, you need 100. If you think it takes $1 million, it probably takes 10 million. If you think it's going to take 10 months, it's probably going to take 100 months. Just multiply everything, because you're going to underestimate the energy, the effort, and the resources necessary to actually be successful, maintain, and then continue to grow that success.
If my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, Nice Guy community. I was first introduced to Grant Cardone when I read his book, Sell or Be Sold, and then I was hooked. From selling socks and ties at 6% commission to his first property, a $78,000 real estate investment, today managing over $4.8 billion with a B in assets, Grant Cardone is the 10X expert. Always looking for cash flow, his next sale, next purchase, maybe his next opportunity. Today, here to talk about a subject that has more relevance than ever, 10X California, enough is enough. Excessive taxation, burdensome regulations, and a growing homelessness crisis. Real problems that require your time now for a real comeback. Let's get energized and in action. Grant, welcome to the Nice Guys on Business.
Doug, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. I know you're in a beautiful part of the world today.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And I understand you're calling from very dry Las Vegas, Nevada. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's probably where your Santa Anas start from. So,
geez, enough of those fire whipping winds. So before we get into 10X California, I want to just chat for just a quick second, just to your meteoric rise to where you are right now. So my Uncle Morris, who was a Beverly Hills guy, West Hollywood, always said to me, I can even remember this as like a 5-year-old, Douglas real estate, buy real estate. Did you always have a vision about that? Is that something that you always knew would be just a part of your future?
You know, my dad was he was a stockbroker, and he died when I was 10. But I remember when we were 7 and 8 years old, on the weekends, when he wasn't selling stocks, on the weekends, he wasn't working, obviously Saturday and Sunday, he'd load up all the kids. There was 5 of us and his wife, my mom. And we'd go around Lake Charles, Louisiana, and look at real estate. So that was my first introduction. Here's a stockbroker that's, looking at a side hustle on the weekends. And so I think that was, I've always known that real estate was a great investment. It was real. It was obvious. People have to either pay to live in it, or you're going to make money, having other people live in it. And I watched my uncle bought, I guess he had 70 or 80 Section 8 homes, and he created a lot of financial freedom for himself and his family doing it. So I've always been extremely interested in it. First time I was in California, I was probably 29 or 30 years old. And that is the ultimate in real estate. I mean, there's no better real estate on planet Earth than the California coastline. And I was in La Jolla, California I'll bet you I wasn't there 30 seconds. And I'm like, I'm going to buy a house here. I'm going to live here one day. I'm going to set up my company. This had to be 35 years ago.
Yeah.
And the savings and loans debacle was happening. It was the late 90s. And you could literally, more U-Hauls were leaving California than going in for different reasons. The same thing's happening today. But, it's just the most beautiful coastline in the world. Where you are in Ojai is phenomenal. That whole Santa Barbara, Malibu, La Jolla coastline is just absolutely fantastic. So it was obvious to me back then that, man, if you could buy a little part of the American, the California dream, that was when California was still dreaming. It wasn't a nightmare to live there. If you could ever own part of that, you'd create tremendous financial freedom.
So you went from real estate, and eventually you created this whole system and brand around 10Xing your goals, 10Xing everything that you're all about. How do you translate that wisdom from something that you have created on your own in real estate, and then you bring other people through this process, and eventually, becoming the sales training guru that you are, and business person that you are? It's one thing to be able to do it; it's another thing to be able to teach it. How did you make that turn?
Yeah, so it's funny because the real estate came later. Actually, you have the little inverted.
All right.
What happened was I was consulting companies on sales. And I was a sales guy when I was 25 years old, and mastered the art of sales and negotiation, and particularly following customers up. Customer service, really, it wasn't just about tricking somebody into a purchase. Anybody can trick somebody once, but like
Right.
that's not a survival strategy for long-term success. And really, what I learned how to do was how to follow customers up. Then ended up consulting companies on how to do that. Fortune 500 companies were paying me to travel all across North America to go into the companies and share with them a duplicatable strategy for using information to engage a customer and then follow that customer up until hopefully they purchase a product. I ended up at 31 years old with extra money, and I didn't know what to do with the money. I was literally on the road every day. And so I'm like, I had to start learning at 31 years old. How do I invest my money? And to me, the simple, easiest thing to invest in was real estate because it was real. It was obvious. It was cash flowing. So I bought my first real deal was in Vista, California, called Cedar Woods Apartment. It's still there today. It's still blue. It's still 48 units. It's still cash flows. And that's where I made my first real money. And so regarding your question about how did I learn how to teach people this, it was just we came up with a specific, very duplicatable strategy for engaging a customer that was codifiable. You could literally measure whether you did it or not.
Right.
And we went to companies around the world and taught people how to do that successfully.
When I think about sitting around the kitchen and dining room table, my dad created a system called Sandler Sales.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting around the kitchen table with my dad and his submarine and the different compartments in the submarine and building that thing and putting them into notebooks as an 8-year-old or 9-year-old. I remember making the notebooks, and it was great. And I can think about early on, just the necessity to have a system in place. If you don't have a system in place, you're going to fail. Even if you don't intend to fail, you don't have any reliable methodology to go through.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I didn't know that was your dad. I did not make that connection, but he's a legend in systems. And to your point, look, you're better off with the wrong system than no system, because at least you know where you're at or where you're going. Because with no system, you're just wandering around. It'd be like taking a trip in a car or telling an Uber, drive. Okay,
right.
but when do you get out? And where are you trying to get to? So I didn't know your dad did that. He's a legend, and systems are so important for creating confidence and competence, so that a person actually knows where on the journey they're going. There's an old saying about it's not the journey, but it's not the destination, but the journey.
Right.
You're not going to get to the destination without knowing where you are in the journey.
100%. And the other thing that's really cool about it is when you have a system, everything is measurable within that system. If you screw up in getting the prospective client to move through the pain stage into the contract or into the post, any of the compartments in the submarine, you at least know where you screwed up. And I love that. When did you develop a 10x approach to pretty much everything that you have going on in your world?
So the 10X thing came from 2010 when the economy collapsed. It's interesting that it was 2010, but
yep.
The economy had collapsed. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, up in the hills, Hollywood Hills, Doheny and the Bird Streets, if you know that area of town.
I don't, but I'm going to check it out.
Just above the Sunset Strip. It's where all the celebs live. I mean, it was the place in LA to be. And my little business that was consulting mostly car dealers, because of the economic collapse, the financial collapse, It wasn't a housing collapse, by the way. It was a debt crisis where people had been given money that shouldn't have been given money to buy homes that they didn't know what to do with.
Right.
And my one vertical, most of my business came from these auto dealers, the auto business, and half of that industry was slaughtered in a period of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Literally, like one day they were doing fine. 14 days later, half of them, 9,000 of them, were out of business. So the other, I guess, 10,000 that were still in business had no money, had no credit, had no, they had their hands full. It was like the place was burning down, similar to California today.
Right.
And and I had about 260 apartments at the time. The only thing that survived that process was my main business got slaughtered, and my real estate continued to drip and fund me through these terrible times that I didn't know if they were ever going to end. And if you went through 2008, 9, and 10, you know what I'm talking about. It
Absolutely.
was very, very painful. And I tried to figure out what I did wrong. I had a good business. I did not over leverage. I was not an overspender. I did not participate in the lending craziness of those years. And I'm like, what did I do wrong here? I did something wrong because I'm affected negatively.
Right.
And so after about an hour of looking at what I did wrong, I'm sitting watching TV, and it's like, too big to fail, too big to fail, too big to fail. That was the first time we really heard that term.
Right.
And after hearing it like 50 times, I'm like, dude, I'm not too big to fail. I'm too small. And I ran to my wife and I told my wife, I said, I know what I did wrong. And she's like, what? I said, we're too small. I was in one industry. I should have been in 10. I had, I don't know, maybe 60 customers. I should have 6,000 customers. And I can't be in one industry. I should be in 10 verticals so that if one or two of them collapse, I still have one or two that are doing well.
Diversification.
And that was the 10X rule. So basically, the 10X rule is a multiplier. It suggests that if you can do something good in one field, find 9 more to do it in. If you think it takes 10 customers, multiply times 10, you need 100. If you think it takes $1 million, it probably takes 10 million. If you think it's going to take 10 months, it's probably going to take 100 months. Just multiply everything, because you're going to underestimate the energy, the effort, and the resources necessary to actually be successful, maintain, and then continue to grow that success. So that was in 2012. I wrote that book called The 10X Rule. We had 260 apartments at that time and a little shopping center. Today we have 15,000 units. I had $58 million of debt back then. Today we have $2.2 billion of debt. I don't know that I'm too big to fail now, but I know this: if I fail, I'm taking down some big boys with me.
That's comforting to know that.
Yeah.
Hey, let's make a shift over to 10X California. So you've been doing these events in San Diego. I think you did one in Los Angeles, or one is coming up. You have many more to go. Tell our community, our nice guy community, tell us what 10X California is all about.
Well, a couple of things that you brought up already was systems. The government in California is without any systems. It is complete incompetence.
You can say it. You can say it.
It's total,
bullshit.
Absolute incompetence. I left there 12 or 13 years ago. I left in 2012, moved to Florida. I was one of the first people to move to Florida. Toyota moved there before I did. And I'm like, okay, if it's Toyota's moving out, I'm moving out.
Right.
And look, I love California. I still have a home in Malibu today. It's one of the most unbelievable resources on the planet. Definitely one of America's great resources. And unfortunately, for the last 13 years, they have just done everything wrong. And if it was a submarine, bro, it'd be on the bottom of the ocean. Crime's up, taxes are up, housing prices are up, rent prices are up. These people do everything incorrectly. 10 of the top most expensive housing cities in America are in California. And the other 5, by the way, are duplicating the things that California does wrong. New York, Illinois.
Well, let's back up for a second.
Yeah.
Where did it all go wrong?
It went.
Feel free to be as blunt as you want to be.
Yeah, it went wrong because the state, unfortunately, does not understand management of priorities. Priorities can never be about tiny micro groups with freak agendas. That is what a politician does to bank some votes. It is not what a business person does. A business person will handle the most dire situation for the greatest number of people first. So, for instance, if this hotel was burning down right now, I'm at the Wynn Hotel. First thing I need to do is take care of myself. California doesn't even take care of the body. Okay, the fact that there was no water available in a reservoir, that firemen had their budgets cut. Why would you cut a fire budget October, November, December, and January are fire months
season.
and have been for 4 million years? The Native Americans used to move to the coast. I don't know if you know this, but they used to move to the coast every October until the fires passed. They also cleaned their forest if they were able to. Like they don't, California doesn't clean the forest because they're worried about field mice. Like there's no real leadership there that says, hey, screw the field mice. Let's take care of 40 million people. And unfortunately, there's no executive in California that is willing to tell California the truth. These micro groups, the trans groups, sorry, not right now. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. Illegal immigration. Like, why are you allowing people to come into the state that don't have jobs and don't have homes when you already have a homeless crisis? So if you have a job problem, you don't bring people in that don't have jobs. And if you have a housing crisis, a shortage of housing, you don't bring millions of people into your state and say, now we have more people that don't have housing. So again, these agendas are inappropriate and the priorities are confused. And let me just say to all the people that live in California, you are complicit in the crime. Okay, continuing to vote blue just because you think you're a Democrat, or you're going to vote red because you're a Republican, or whatever it is you're thinking right now. You need to make the state first. You have the highest taxes when they should be the lowest. Okay, we should not have the highest taxes in California. We should have lower taxes in California. That way, you basically cut off the executive from blowing money that the state doesn't have anyway. These guys continue to raise their budgets and do less with the budget. So if you were a drug addict, first thing I would do is take your drugs away. In the case of the politician, money is their drug. Emergencies are their drugs, okay, because they can go tap the federal government for money. So 10X California is really about not just making California again, but making California 10X, because there is no state in the country that has the resources, the viability. I mean, the fifth largest economy on planet Earth. And the resources are unbelievable. You can't find a place. Texas and Florida are great. I live in Florida. I've lived in Texas, man. California, it is the premium of the premium. And unfortunately, people are leaving there. That's one problem. You're driving people like me out. We took our little company that had under 10 employees. We have 1,500 employees now earning money in Florida.
How do you take
just one guy, Doug, by raising taxes from 10 to 13 and misusing the money? It wasn't just the raising the taxes. It's they misused the money. If they used the money correctly, I wouldn't have a problem. But that just me leaving's probably cost the state $1 billion in tax revenue annually.
How do you get people to, I mean, you've just laid out all of the problems, and I totally get it. I don't disagree with you with many of the points that you have made. How do you go from where we are now in the state of California, which will be duplicated probably in many other states if some of those states have their way? They're looking at California as the model for efficiency as it relates to politics, but not the model of efficiency when it comes to financially. For their residents. How do you go from where we are now to where you want to be, just by making that can be measured, or that which can be observed can be measured and changed? How do we change it? How do we go to the process of making changes here?
But you handle priorities. What's the priority, right? So number one is you take any event, this emergency event. There's an opportunity right now. This crisis in the Palisades, Altadena. That nobody's even talking about Altadena. You listen to Rick Caruso and Newsom and the players that have all been there for their entire careers, Bass. These people are not even really talking about Altadena. Malibu's completely left out of the picture. The first thing you would do is you would use a crisis as an opportunity to reboot the state. What does that mean? It means you would clean up the 18,000 homes and schools that are down. You would clean those up in 45 days or less.
Okay.
You would not allow any intolerance or possibility that this is going to take 18 months. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to hide under the environment, and they're worried about your health, Doug. They're going to be like, oh, it's the environment. You can't move all that. Look, there's already toxins in the air.
Right.
It's too late. Okay. Stop it. What they're going to do is they're going to bring FEMA in. FEMA's going to say, okay, we got to cover everything. We're going to have to, we have this fire retardant, this toxin retardant. We got to blast that. Then we got to put it in container trucks. This will take years to remove the debris if they go that way. Mm. Now, the environmentalists and the healthy people, they're going to be like, oh, toxins are going to go everywhere. They're already out there, folks. Politicians need to tell people the truth. There's no stopping the problem. You've already damaged the environment by not cleaning up the forest and preventing the fire. So I would say, like, if I was in charge, hey, we're going to clean up all the debris in 45 days or less. By the way, 25 days has already gone by.
Yeah.
So that would put us at 60 since the fires. Then we're going to start the rebuild. We would use automation and kiosk systems to rebuild. Anybody that has a structure that's in place automatically gets approved as long as 4 conditions: fire retardant walls, fire retardant roofs, concrete block, no access to taking embers in, and we irrigate these homes. Every one of these homes should be almost like a little mini fire department. Mm-hmm. Click a switch, bang, you irrigate your house. I can't burn this glass of water. Okay, there have been tests on this. I could literally take it and put a fire on it. You cannot burn water, and the technology exists. We have plenty of water. You have $15 trillion worth of tech companies up in Silicon Valley that could solve this problem tomorrow if they made it a priority.
You're talking about the difference between having a business person run the state and having a politician run the state. How do you turn that corner? Because that seems to be part of the problem too.
The people or the customers. When the customers say no, okay, they don't buy that product anymore. The price either goes lower or you get rid of the product.
Right.
The product we have right now is politicians that basically tell people we need to take care of everyone. Okay. By trying to take care of everyone, you're taking advantage of everyone and really taking care of no one. So all I'm saying, Doug, is the emergency situation is an opportunity to reboot the state. Mm-hmm. Because if you did what I said, 45 days cleanup, then we start rebuilding, get everything out of the way. Let the homeowners, by the way, I have a home right now with damage. Let me go literally start cleaning my home up. Right. Oh, we're worried about your health, Mr. Cardone. Stay out of my health. It's none of your business.
Yeah.
Okay. If I want to commit suicide, you allow me to do that in the state. If I want to shoot drugs, you allow me to do that. If I want to cut my penis off, you allow me to do that. In fact, you'll give me money to do it. If I want to go clean my shit up, stay out of my business.
Yeah.
And don't tell me about my health. I know about my health. I know there's a risk. I know there's asbestos in some of these homes and some of this debris. So let me do that and then get out of my way, Coastal Commission and environmental groups. Get out of my way to rebuild my home the way I want to rebuild it, as long as we can prevent some of the things that have happened already. So that would put the state on notice, right? That would show the people how fast things can be cleaned up. And that would be a reboot, and it would force Newsom and Bass to confront these mafia organizations that they already have commitments to, like the Coastal Commission and the environmental groups and these fringe freak groups with these very non-conservative. Most of California is very conservative, very Christian, conservative, God-believing, hardworking people that literally have no voice in California anymore.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly given a lot of fuel to that fire, for sure. No pun intended, of course. What is the action that you want somebody to take? I know that you're hosting events all over the state. Tell us what's coming up. This is going to air. Let's see, we're recording this on February 4th. This will probably air tomorrow, the 5th or the 6th at the latest. What's still coming up on your agenda?
Look, we need to do 50 rallies in Los Angeles County by itself. Irvine could probably use 50. San Diego County could probably use 50 live rallies up and down the coast. Now, I don't know if going to San Francisco makes any difference, because I don't think you can, turn some of those people because they're not in the fires.
Mm-hmm.
You can go literally, if you weren't affected by the fires, if you're not in the Palisades and you don't smell the air,
right,
and you don't see the damage, you woke up this morning to blue skies.
Right.
Blue skies are the biggest threat to California, because it suggests that everything's all right, but it's not. It's not all right because of a handful of people are ruining our state. It's almost, Doug, to me like, and I'll tell you what I want people to do, but it's almost to me like they want to drive people out. They want to have this thing to themselves. Okay. So the problem's not too big to solve. That's what I want to tell everybody. You can solve this problem, but the customer, the voter, the taxpayer, you're the customer. You have to say no.
Mm-hmm.
You have to say, I will not do this anymore. Now, how do you do that? The first thing I would ask people to do is that if you've been voting Democrat like I did for 35 years, I would ask you, number one, to register online today as a Republican voter. Now, why? I'm not asking you to vote Republican. I want you to send a message to Sacramento.
That'll send a message, all right.
a million. They look at it every day. They look at their registrations every single day. If 1 million blue voters or non-voters are not registered, suddenly registered to vote in the next election as a Republican, you would send a message to Sacramento, hey, we're done. Okay. Now, what would happen now? This got nothing to do with me, by the way, or 10X California.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even live in California, guys. I have a house there. I'm just a concerned citizen. That as an American, I'm concerned about the viability of California going forward. If it rolls over, you roll over the entire United States economy. It's that big.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so big. Okay. And so abundant in resources that if it fails, America also will be greatly affected. So if you register red right now, it costs you nothing to do it, by the way. It costs like $6 to $9 to per vote to remove Newsom, to recall him, and you might not be successful. It would cost $6 to recall Bass. It costs zero, nothing. This is what business people do. How can I do something that costs nothing and has the greatest effect?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You would get your people that are listening to this show today say, hey, I'm going to go online. I'm going to go check out. It's register online in California. You can Google it. It'll pop right up. You go there. It literally takes 3 minutes to register. You put in your data, and bang, it sends a message to Sacramento. You don't have to vote on anything today, but it sends a message to them. Hey, we don't want to buy this product anymore. And so what happens is the store, Sacramento politicians, Newsom or whoever, because it goes way deeper than Newsom, they would then be sent a message. Our customer's not happy.
Yeah.
And not just in the Palisades. There's only 14,000 homes affected in the Palisades, which is terrible. But there's 40 million people. Mm-hmm. I think about 16 million of you guys vote every year. So those 16 million that aren't affected by the Palisades need to say, hey, enough is enough. Crime's too high. Taxes are too high. Our schools suck. Some of the worst in the country now, public schools. Our infrastructure is destroyed. We can't get water to our homes. Can't stop fires. Our firemen are being cut off. Like, every stat is going down. If you were a business, you would quit buying there. It would go bankrupt.
Well, my real estate taxes keep going up, so not everything's going down.
Yeah, right. Everything that's bad is going up. So number one, that's what I would tell people to do. Register. Number two, if you want to reach out to me at 10xcalifornia.com, we're hosting rallies wherever you guys want to do one. Okay. I'm proposing to a number of groups that I come through and possibly do workshops on financial literacy and register people to vote there so that we can send a message. Again, I don't live in California anymore full time. I go there, I visit. It's great. My house is going to be rebuilt. It'll be fine. This does not financially affect me, but as an American citizen, I'm concerned that we lose California and it'll be an awful loss for America.
I hear you, and I understand what you're saying, and we'll make sure we put all of those links in our show notes so that everybody has access to do exactly the action items that Grant had provided just a moment ago. I did not know you were a twin.
Yeah, identical twin for yeah.
I was reading some. All right, now I know Grant's been interviewed probably by a million other podcasters, and what information can I find out about him that maybe not every other podcaster has asked? There's some interesting things I didn't know you were a twin. I also didn't know that you graduated college with a severe amount of college student debt, which was interesting. Again, most people in our community do that as well. And, I didn't realize the fascination in, you're a serial entrepreneur. You just love business. Anything that can turn a deal, you like to do it. Is there something hardwired in you that just drives you? Where did your inspiration come from initially?
When my dad died, Doug, it was like we were in the middle class, firmly in the middle class. And I saw that slip away from us because my dad's income stopped. I think people take it for granted, but when you die, the company you work for quits paying you. I spent 5 years in accounting to get an accounting degree, and they never told me that. But when my dad died, I'm like, oh, the money stopped. And when the money stops, whatever you have in savings, and this is so real today. Consider somebody that had maybe bought a home in the Palisades or in Altadena or Malibu for $40,000 or $50,000 years ago. And you lived there for 40 or 50 years and you woke up one day and it's worth $5 million.
Right.
You're real estate rich and you're cash poor. And one day the insurance company calls you and says, hey, we're going to stop your insurance. And you're like, what do you mean stop my insurance? Oh, okay. What does that mean to me? People don't even know what it means.
Right.
You're going to lose your cars. They're not going to be covered, or maybe they're covered, but your house isn't going to be covered. You basically have a $6 million house that you owe nothing on. You think all your entire net worth is in that one house.
Yeah.
You have $3 million worth of insurance because the state of California wouldn't let insurance companies raise insurance premiums.
Right.
I don't know why nobody's talking about this. California got involved in business. Everywhere they get involved in business, shit goes bad. So they told Allstate, State Farm, and Nationwide, you cannot raise more than X. So they said, then we're out.
Right.
If I can't raise, by the way, that's why I quit buying real estate in California. I can't raise the rents. If I can't raise the rents, I can't fix the property. If I can't fix the property, it's going to deteriorate. If it deteriorates, I can't collect my rents. And why am I even owning the real estate? I owned it because I wanted it to go up in value, not sideways. And so, again, California needs to stay out of people's business. When you do rent controls or you start trying to control insurance companies, guess what they do? They move out of state and they go to Arizona. Newsom sold more real estate in Arizona and Texas and Florida than all the real estate agents in Arizona, Texas, and Florida. He should get an award from them for selling other people's real estate. And here's that person, maybe in Malibu or the Palisades, that thought they were worth $6 million, that is negative $3 million now. They're going to get a check for $3 million. They can't rebuild. They have no money. They're going to sell their land for nothing. Some builder's going to come in. Probably Rick Caruso is going to come in. Him and his buddies are going to come in and put together a bunch of lots. And they're going to make a fortune off of this. And this is not a new game, folks. You guys that are listening right now, this has been going on since the 1800s. It's going on in Ukraine right now. They're doing it in the Carolinas. They're doing it in Maui. And if you think that's a conspiracy, you just need to go back and study history. Land grabs have been happening since there's been land and development, and it's happening again.
Well, Grant,
and that's where my you asked me where my inspiration comes from. I've been an underdog my whole life, dude, since my dad died, right? Trying to hold on to the middle class dream and trying to improve the value or quality of my life and my family's life. And it seems like every 10 or 12 years, man, the big guys just strip it away from the little guys.
Well, I do appreciate your passion with the delivery that you have, and it sounds like, if you had to look back in 100 years from now, when there's no more Grant Cardone on this earth, what would you want people to remember you for? Like, what do you want as your legacy?
I don't know. I don't know that I'll have a legacy other than my family, maybe, being inspired by me, or a handful of people that heard something that I said and, got off of doing less than they could do. I mean, if I can inspire anybody to do a little more, like what I'm doing in California, literally, I've walked away from my job the last 3 weeks. I have 7 companies that I manage over, and I'm a CEO of, and I've literally taken my attention off of that. My wife and my one of my daughters is on the other side of the country right now, and I'm running around trying to organize people, which is insane, by the way.
Mm.
Like I'm trying to like organize what? I don't even know half the time what I'm trying to organize. I'm going against all these political agendas, and this is a massive problem. But if the citizens don't stand up, it's a David Goliath thing, man. I've always been inspired by hero stories. And I'm not saying I'm a hero, but I'm saying, like, the little guy, when they pull together, can win the game.
No, 100%. I totally agree with you. I couldn't agree with you anymore. There's many more little guys than there are big guys. And what's the expression? I'm not a little shot, or I'm not a big shot. I'm a little shot that keeps shooting.
Yeah,
It's kind of what I want to be known for as well. Say, before we wrap up, Grant, I know I've kept you. This 10-minute interview evolved into a 40-minute, whole involved process here. So I apologize for keeping you.
No, it's all good.
Good subject matter, man. I appreciate you sharing. When you walk out that door behind you down to the Wynn lobby, and you go into the casino, what's the game of choice? What do you prefer to play?
If I play anything, it'll be blackjack, but I try to stay away from them, because I remember when I go down there, this place was built on the backs of little people, a lot of little people, not whales.
Mr. Cardone, thank you for sharing. Thanks for being here on the show today. And again, great seeing you. And thanks for sharing your story and 10X California with us.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate you.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Grant Cardone. All of his information, including access to all of the programs he's involved in, right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, and in accordance with my court-mandated community service, I'm Steve O'Brien. Only 27 more voiceovers to go, and then maybe they'll let me leave the state and take this ankle bracelet off.